Hi, thank you for joining us at U-Inc. My name is Ria Greif, and I'm here with you today as I am every week to help build the most important brand in your life, which is you. And when we talk about building, we use tools, and the same goes for building our brand. These wellness tools will help elevate your emotional intelligence and help to lead you in a more positive, successful direction in life and in business. Some of these tools will aid in immediate impressions, and some you will use for future engagements. This week's tool is gesture, and how there is a need for gestures of kindness even more for you than others, and I will show you how these expressions lead to success in life and in business once I have demonstrated to you that this is a great tool for your brand. There is a popular seminar that I deliver about the need to fill the vessels of your life. There are 5: friends and family, finances, health, work, and finally, service. Perhaps not surprisingly, thousands of participants reported that their vessel of service is only 5% full, or at the most 10%, as opposed to upwards of 65% in other life areas. And why is that? Why is it that people report that they do not attend to serving the community, volunteerism, giving, participation, civic duty? Based on anecdotal evidence, most people cite time and fatigue and just aren't interested. The research supports this and has shown that while over 90% of us want to engage in gestures of good, only 1 out of 4 Americans actually do for the same reasons. But what if I told you that you will have more time, more energy, and you will have much more interest in life if you included these gestures in your life? The book, Making Dreams Come True Without Money or Miracles, a guide for dream chasers and dream catchers by Ivan Shire, illustrates that there is a relationship between gestures of good and improved physical health and cognitive function, and that those who engage in these gestures of good report elevated mood and less depression, increased social interactions and social support, better relationship quality, and decreased loneliness. This obviously leads to personal gratification and having meaningful experiences in life, which in turn frees us from the chains of distraction, consumerism, information overload, and supernormal stimuli brain exposure. Most of us kind of knew this already, so what are some other not so obvious obstacles that might hold us back? In the book, Doing Good, Passion and Commitment for Helping Others by Jeffrey Kotler, starts with the understanding that terrorism, dictatorship, totalitarianism, environmental issues, global financial crises, and economic depression are all man-made problems. And as a result, a large number of unrelated people in the world are suffering mentally and physically, which a small number of people created. Knowing that we can solve all the problems because they were made by our hands is the first step to activating ourselves and becoming part of something bigger than ourselves. By touching one another, we offer relief, and yes, at times we will also become deeply affected no matter how much we try to insulate ourselves. But you also may encounter folks who will do their best to make your life as miserable as possible and undermine your work. But it is their dysfunction that drives this, and it is not personal. Know the challenge and equip yourself to continue with your gestures. Moreover, gestures for good are much easier to execute when you have had a childhood steeped in it. Raising Charitable Children by Carol Wiseman offers specific steps to help anyone translate kind ideas into action with a set of practical maps or models anyone can use to start making a difference now. Whether you are a scout troop, religious group, families, communities, school groups, suggestions for how to implement your plan, whether as a one-time event or an ongoing project, are given to maximize success, and repeats with lots of tips for sharing the gifts of generosity, selflessness, and compassion with children of all ages and from all backgrounds to help instill cherished values and possibly create a new family tradition or two, and how making a difference benefits us the most. Community service is not political, and it is not mandated by the state. It is something that comes from deep within our core values. Helping others can be as simple as washing dishes at your local shelter or delivering a meal to an elderly shut-in. Can you imagine the impact on our country if just another 10% of our friends and neighbors decided to volunteer for a worthy cause? Benjamin Franklin, one of the most famous early Americans, is also known as the founding father of American volunteerism. He gathered volunteers to sweep the streets of Philadelphia, organized the nation's first volunteer fire department, established a voluntary militia, and organized a philosophical society. His philosophy was, one served not to save their soul, but to build a strong society. In our modern day society, volunteering still forms the core of the American character. It is who we are and how we pass caring and freedom to the next generation. And the good news is, it looks like our younger generations are getting the message because they are now volunteering at the same rate as those who are retired. If our kids can convince their friends and neighbors through social media that to help others is in a sense helping ourselves, we can continue to be the most charitable nation, just like our forefathers. There are two ways of spreading light: to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. And that is a quote by Edith Wharton, born Edith Jones, to a wealthy New York upper-class family in which the saying, keeping up with the Joneses, likely came from. A prolific writer, most notably, she penned The House of Mirth and The Age of Innocence, for which she was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Literature in 1921 for her novels and for being the first woman to do so. But her accomplishments also included charitable efforts for refugees, the injured, the unemployed, and the displaced. She received the Legion of Honor in recognition of her dedication and her relief work, organizing concerts to provide work for musicians, and raising money to open tuberculosis hospitals. Today's guest's gestures of good cannot be contained under any canopy. Rather, like a food truck festival, there are many options and canopies to stand under depending on need. Chaz Kaplan, who is also the founder of and co-owner of the Columbus Food Truck Festival, as well as the Columbus Mobile Food Conference and Expo, finds passion and service to others via gestures of good. And even in his role as music manager, he finds ways to give back, for example, by bringing bands like Moon the Giant to Farm Aid. Mr. Kaplan also raises funds for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in honor of his mother, Wally, and was nominated Man of the Year. When Mr. Kaplan isn't trucking around the city for work or attending music events for work and play and charity, most recently you can find him at the airport delivering meals donated to TSA employees who recently experienced a month-long furlough and loss of wages to help defray their financial need and elevate their morale. Welcome, Mr. Kaplan.
Hey, thank you. That was quite an intro.
And it's all
Can you
you.
take a breath?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
I'm flattered. That was great.
It is all you. And I, I've known you, and I've seen your work, and I know a lot of things that you're involved in, but I had no idea the level and the legacy that you've been creating by your contributions. So one of the things that was listed on your website that maybe people don't know what it is, but I didn't want to mention because I want you to answer this, is that you started a silent disco. Now, I've been to Bonnaroo, I know what it is, but can you tell people who later on are going to look up who you are and they see what a silent disco is, can you explain that to our listeners?
Silent disco is a quiet party. Some people say that it was created actually at MIT by students wanting to party, but knowing that others were studying and didn't want to disturb them. So they created their own FM modulators to broadcast wirelessly to multiple headphones with the same music on, while nobody was in the same room, but they could party wherever.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible concept, and seeing it at Bonnaroo in like 2004-ish, walked up with a buddy of mine over this hill, and we saw 500 people dancing, but you didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
It was late night. You were out of the sound range of the stages, and we walked up, and actually we didn't even go in and put on headphones. We just watched and laughed.
Sure.
And did whatever else you do at Bonnaroo from a distance, and it was awesome. So I dug in, did some research. Actually, I'm friends with this gentleman who does the Bonnaroo Silent Dance Party, is actually what it's called. I own Silent Disco USA, silentdiscousa.com, which is kind of, at the time, was rollerblades or inline skating. silent disco has been argued to be that like generic name, but I own the trademarks to it.
Sure.
So it's a silent party. There's a lot. Prime Social Group in town does a lot of silent discos with their club events now. We do private events around the country. I've done a few with Prime Social Group. I'm not currently doing that because of some of my other business ventures.
Sure.
I have let that slide a little bit.
Sure.
But I can get headphones for you if you want to throw a silent party. If your kids want to throw a party in the backyard and you don't want to bother your neighbors, or if you have, one of the ideas originally was weddings, and when parents are spending a great deal of money for a party, and there's a lot of kids, actually, let's just say bar mitzvahs or something like that, where parents are spending a lot of money and there's a lot of 13-year-old kids running around, maybe put headphones on them and let the adults listen to some other music.
So traditional music too, right? The kids are having a good time.
And they could run around and do all that.
Yeah.
So
that's a great idea.
Anyways,
and so after you saw
fun.
it and you laughed from afar, you must have tried it though and you liked it.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good, because it is fun.
We actually started doing them at like the beer fests that were going on. I think the beer fests still have them. They might have bought their own inventory of headphones.
Sure. But it's a good time.
Yeah, it is a good time.
And one of the things too is like people don't think this is a charitable thing, but it is, because you don't have to worry about people breaking up your party. You pay for licenses to have something, and they know no one's going to come knocking your door for noise issues.
You're getting rid of noise pollution.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and it's good for the environment too. Win-win.
Yeah.
So another item on your website was a link to Rock the Vote. And what impresses me about that, and the many things that you're involved in, is how you mix gestures of altruism right into the work that you do. Is that the secret to your success, like making your work meaningful by using it as a platform for good in every facet conceivable?
I don't think I would be as successful as I am in my daily life if I didn't involve things that I personally had passion about. Rock the Vote was an interesting, came across me in an interesting way, actually through Jeff Mathis at Dumici. I was friends with the gentleman by the name of Aaron James that was a good friend of his for years, and is the DJ for Rock the Vote on tour in 2007, 2008 timeframe, I believe. And we met each other up at Dumici and became friends, and Rock the Vote, you know, hey, we're coming through Ohio, we're doing these tours. Hey, I got some events going on. I was owned Rockin', or not owned, but I was hired by the guys who owned Rockin' Riverwatch at the time to do stage sound and some sponsorship and catering and things like that. And I was like, hey, I got Rock the Vote. They want to do some big things in Central Ohio.
Yeah.
Ended up bringing in Bow Wow for that, which was pretty incredible. Had the mayor at the time introduce. Interestingly enough, at the time, I was also throwing around business plans to do festivals and larger events in Columbus, trying to get people's attention. Well, that event in particular gave me the opportunity to show the mayor, Mayor Coleman at the time, that I was for real, and this is just one of the things.
Yeah.
So it all started from there, where soon after people would ask me to do things because I would pull them off.
Yeah.
And I typically am not the type of person that will say something if I don't intend on doing it.
Can't deliver.
Regardless of if it breaks my back or not.
Yeah, sure. And it's interesting. That's a very interesting point that you're making about, you know, doing good, altruism, and getting involved with those types of projects. Like, a lot of people are like, well, you know, it's for the money. They only do it for the money. But people don't realize all those experiences and those connections, those parlay into your professional success as well.
And I've also found that was a political type of giving, which is a little different than the charitable money contributions. Which, obviously, playing the political game could be a little dangerous. Sure. It's not exactly where I want to go. Publicly. Right. Although I do vent on my own social media.
Sure. I'm the same way.
But I forgot the question. But
so that you parlay those experiences where you're giving, and then you want to get involved to make an impact politically without having to take a stand. This is one way to do it.
Yes. Yep. Well, I take a stand, but I also got involved later on with the Bicentennial, and I was asked to sit on the committee, the entertainment committee for that, whenever that was, 2010 or 2012. Yeah, maybe.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a volunteer thing. I reached out to a few friends of mine and said, hey, I want to just volunteer my time and get on some committees, get on some boards, give my input. I think that was another place for me where some people on these communities are like, who is that?
Yeah, right.
Well, who is that talking and voicing like that? Well, it's somebody that's volunteering my time, and I have an opinion, and whether it's right or wrong, I'm still willing to back it up.
Yeah. And then you see you're dependable, reliable.
Things from there, people started approaching me, saying,
Yes.
you know, at those events, wanting to meet me, want to know who I was, and build relationships, and maybe work with them.
Yep.
And that occurred.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually, and I also say this about altruism, you know, there really is no like pure altruism. It's really an ally. There's always going to be some personal gain, and people don't understand that. Like you get back from giving, but also good things happen to you because you make those connections.
Oh, I'm about the whole for full circle of karmic, what you put out in the universe comes back to you.
Absolutely.
I actually try to focus on that a lot right now. Actually, it was kind of not, I wouldn't say a New Year's resolution, but something just to more focus on being kind more every minute rather than just when I
like an annual event or something.
At something specific. Wanting to just be that way all the time. I could still lose my temper.
Sure.
And I still get road rage.
Sure.
But I'm getting better at it, I think.
Okay, good.
But it does feel good to give.
Yes.
And I said that to someone else who was involved with me with donating food to TSA, where we went we dropped off food 5 times, I believe.